Order.
This conference will now be recorded.
And I ask the clerk to call roll, please.
Ed.
Present. Yeah, that's what they call me, Ed.
Counselor Arnold. Present. Counselor Oropesa.
Here.
Counselor Corn.
Here.
You have.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Will be approved. We have the first item, which is considering recommending to the full council the following RAC lease agreements to be placed in agenda for approval. One being 555 Services LLC. The second item being Aero Design Services LLC. Have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Can I just say so moved on that one? Can I say so moved on that? So moved.
We have a second
I'll second, just for purpose of discussion.
for discussion. Yeah, we're open up for discussion. So I got a second. So now let's hear our discussion.
What would you like to have? Staff has a presentation. Yeah, staff can.
Have presentation first and then we'll have discussion.
All right, so our first lease that we bring is 555 Services LLC. They are a dismantling service. They have been in an interim lease since February, and they're looking to rent 5 acres of dirt land in the airport operation area for 5 years for $21,780 annually. $1,815 monthly. They will have CPI increase annually on that 5-year lease. And they'll be dismantling aircraft, transitional aircraft will be stored there, and their ground servicing equipment will be on that parcel.
Okay. Let me ask this question here. Is that space being currently utilized?
No. It's right next to our crunch pads that are out there for aircraft destruction.
So the look like concrete pad there.
There is an island, so there's some access roads there. Off to the right is the current tenant is the drag strip. And at the bottom of the drag strip parcel is Kavu.
Could you move up to the map and kind of demonstrate that to me, or
Sure.
someone put a laser on it or something so that I can understand?
I have a finger.
You need to still.
This right here is the dragway, and then this currently is the Kavu crunch pad. And they have these 2 buildings rented right now. This crunch pad over here is also Kavu, and this parcel will be next to it. This company is just salvaging or taking parts off of a plane prior to it going to the next step, which is the salvage or the crunching.
Okay, so all they're asking for is outdoor space.
Correct.
No building structures. Will they ever come back, and
No, they can only put temporary on there so that they can go with them when they leave.
are they going to put temporary? I mean, if they're going to have employees out there, where are they going to put those facilities for those employees?
Usually they have porta potties that go out there for those staff, for their employees. And then I did see they had hauled out a modular type movable trailer for their office break room.
Are there utilities out there to that site?
No,
How are they going to perform their work?
generators. That's where everybody's utilizing. There is power to the buildings that are out there, but that's not what they're currently doing.
Right.
So I don't know that they're at that site all day long. They have a separate location that's not even on Air Center where they do a lot of their work too. Yes.
Councilor President.
Mr. Chair, just a matter of clarification, the generators are provided by them or provided by the city?
They take care of their own. It's cost of their business operations. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the rate that we calculate for them is based on that idea that they're just renting a patch of dirt. And if they wanted all these other amenities, it would be a different rate.
That's correct.
So where do we get the dirt rate?
Scott, you can answer better than I can, but there's a,
Well, basically, it's a chemical. A lot of airports, mostly within 500 miles of here, for raw land lease rates, and we're more or less in the low middle.
Low, man.
Low middle.
Why would we want to be low?
That's a very good question.
What is the rate?
10 cents a foot a year.
Yeah.
I question why we want to accept being low. I want to achieve to be at the top in everything that I do.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I mean,
Counselor.
in the overall schemes, looking at these other airports within a 500-mile radius, some I feel quite confident would have utilities, others would not, like this one, just pad of dirt.
I get it.
And
But he's saying he's using comparable dirt
no, I
in
don't,
other airports. I didn't hear that those had utilities
And
applied to
I'll
them.
be honest, some mention in their rates and stuff, they have utilities, and some don't mention it at all. So when you're comparing those rates, you're getting a mix of numbers that, so it's not 100%, this is developed and this is not. But, you know, they call it all a raw land lease. And so when you look at those numbers, you know you're not getting a perfect picture of things. And to put it in perspective, where we came from to get to this, we came from 7 cents. So that was a fairly large jump to get to where we are. And we are certainly not opposed to going higher and feel the same way as the chair. That the more we can get.
Right. We have a responsibility to the citizens of this community to get the best return on
Airport, the higher we go.
the best return on the assets that we have that responsibility to everyone in this community. And that's why I ask these questions about where do you come with this rate and why are you willing to accept us to be low?
well,
I don't accept it.
for this parcel land, where's there, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, please.
So where is their egress, ingress area supposed to be? For their,
Where they come and access that property, is that what you're talking about? They come in through the shipping gate, which is behind Hangar 91. And that's how they drive the access roads to get out to it that way. Or they'll already be on the air center, depending on where they're taxiing aircraft from to get to that location.
the little corner there, that's runway 21. Right across the upper left-hand corner, is that 21?
Correct.
And they're not going to want to put a security fence up or any of that kind of stuff?
They're inside the airport operations area there, so they're already in the secured area.
No. Around their area.
We've not required anybody in the demolition area to do that.
I haven't asked.
So as far as I know, no, we're not putting that as a requirement in their lease.
Do I hear any further discussion? Councilor Preston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the contract itself, on page 3 out of 11, if we're only dealing with dirt, why are we having to have a policy, some type of insurance policy to?
We require a general liability insurance for the company that's operating out there to cover any incidents that could happen with property to other tenants and or their own employees.
But it doesn't sound like, well, maybe I misread it, I don't know.
Counselor, yeah, so there's two different things there. One would be to keep insurance on any property, which of course there's not. And then the second one is the general liability. So to the extent that A is there as part of our form language, but it doesn't apply here. So if there's no structure to insure, then.
And there's no anticipation that we're some kind of structure there, right?
No.
So why even have it on the?
Well, you'll see this sometimes. We use one form for all the tenants and some parts of it apply in some circumstances and other, so that we don't have to draft a new lease each time. That's the idea.
Okay. I yield.
Okay. Right. And then I guess on that insurance claim, do we know that they're not dumping oil? They're environmentally.
There are sections
Yeah,
in here that
protections.
just address those type of issues. Yeah.
That their insurance will cover, not them, but their insurance company will cover.
Does our form require environmental contamination insurance? I'm not sure that it does.
That's just general liability.
I think it's something that we should look at for this and all future, and not just the company, because they can go bankrupt on us and bingo, we're out.
Mhm.
And we've assumed that liability.
Sir?
And honestly, I think the reading your plans is something that we just began discussing.
Well, maybe we ask for it in this lease.
And there's.
Yes, okay. We can bring an amendment to add to the liabilities or to the insurance section, subsection C there that will address environmental hazards coverage. Yeah, we can do that.
I just don't think the city should take that on for someone else. I know we don't get to in my business, so
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
some of the potential hazardous materials in modern day aircraft is pretty nasty stuff. Skydraw's one. Turbine oil that's in those engines is different than motor oil by quite a bit. They're in small quantities, but it doesn't take a large quantity to make a big mess.
No. And that's already got issues out there. So why add to it?
Yeah, well, the Air Force left us several issues out there, but that's a story for another day.
So do we have a motion to amend? Or do we need to do that part?
Typically, we would do a motion to amend it. Yeah.
I have a motion to amend.
Where are you going to put that language in?
Right, under,
Yes.
and then add a C under insurance.
So, if I might,
You've got the floor.
they've already given preliminary approval for this, is that correct?
Yes, there's an interim temporary release there now.
So you're going to put a subpart C in there, is that what your plan is?
That would be the proposal to add the part C that requires environmental hazards insurance.
Okay,
Do you have an idea of what the dollar amount should be?
I think we'd have to research that because as was already commented, it's not a garden variety type of liability policy because of the unique circumstances of an air center and all of the chemicals and things that are used. I think we'd have to look at that. So what I would suggest is let us look at that and then we'll bring it when it comes to council, it'll have it in there when you can see it in the packet. If you don't like, you can pull it off consent and
That'd be fine. Do I have a motion
to amend?
to amend?
Yeah, I'll make it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Being none opposed, the motion carries. Now, Parker, do we have to go back to the original motion?
now you're on the main motion.
Yep.
As amended.
Yeah. We got into that the other night. I was like,
I want to hear
we
it.
were amended upon amended. Which one are we on?
Yes.
You gotta have a
You
program.
got scorekeeper. That's what Parker's the scorekeeper.
We got a clerk. She's going, the next morning I was like, Amalia, what did we do?
So do I have a motion to approve the amendment?
Well, no, you need Mr. Chair, let me try it.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
Trying to figure this one out.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt agenda item number 1, dealing with lease contract by 5x5 services as amended. I've done that once or twice.
Yeah. Second.
I'll second. We're kind of like a back, no, you.
Well, if he wants to sit at the other end of the table, sit up here. That's his business. Just jump all over it.
Replace.
Well,
All in the affirmative by aye.
aye.
All opposed? There being no opposed, motion so carried. Now let's move on to second item.
This is a lease for Aero Design Services. They are in the process of obtaining their Part 145, which is an MRO type building or business. They're currently working as subcontractors for the MROs that are on that station now. And they needed to spread out because they're growing. So they've decided that they'd like to rent a little parcel inside of Building 1000. It is 240 square feet. They do anticipate spreading out into that building, but as of right now, they're just wanting to start there. This lease is only for 1 year with an annual rent of $2,880 annually and a $240 monthly. This space does include all utilities except for janitorial, and then we do the maintenance of the building as well. So if you're looking at square footage prices, it's $12 a square foot.
Utilities included.
Correct.
They're not putting a Bitcoin mining operation in there, are they?
No.
Mr. Chairman, that building was the old operations building when the Air Force was here. It later became the terminal building that we used for years out there when we first moved to that facility. I'm sure there's been other tenants in there, but that was also where the school was for a while.
Yeah. Is anyone in there now? Only them.
Only them.
And now it's empty.
Is it tiny?
Oh, it's nice building.
10,000 square feet.
Depends on what you call tiny.
Oh, okay, they're only
Taking
leasing
240.
40. Okay, that's
Yeah,
why I was kind of going 200 for, and wait, and I was like, that doesn't look,
I assume they're going to use one of those forward parts of the wings.
They're actually in this slot right here so that they can see the work that's being done on the ramp to their aircraft, but they're in this wing right
Right
here.
there.
Other end.
Yeah, they're in, yeah.
It's not a very big office space.
Well, they don't need much.
I plan on putting one person in there and that's it.
Yeah.
What job do they bring in?
They have 4 people in there. Yeah.
New hires or bringing people to town, you know?
One was an internal or hire from town and the other 3 are from out of state.
Good. Always nice to hear. Councilor Pressa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm stuck on the insurance.
Okay.
That's a question on insurance as well. On, let's see what page it is, 18. Section, looks like 9. Yeah. It says landlord will provide fire and extended coverage to the premises during the term of, sorry, I misread the thing, so I'm okay.
You good?
Landlord will provide it.
They're taking care of the contents, so we're just doing the premises is all.
Correct.
I call it.
Yep, I misread it. I thought we were asking them to provide the insurance.
No, they're going to reimburse us is correct.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
we're not covering their contents one bit, so. It's not quite a triple, but it's close.
Yeah, I know, and we don't insure anybody else's stuff ever.
And at the same token, we don't ask them to provide insurance for a building that the city owns, right?
It'll depend on circumstances. In this case, we're not, because we're covering it because they're only leasing a part of it. So it just makes more sense to us for us to do the insurance and them to reimburse us their pro rata part, which you'll see there. But, in the circumstances where somebody leases an entire building, you will see us require them to insure the building. Because we would rather, if they cause damage to our building or if damage is caused to our building, we would rather their insurance pay than ours because every time we pay, our premiums go up.
Yeah, but if it's our building, are we responsible to have it insured to begin with?
It is insured by us. There's insurance, there's typically insurance on both sides.
Don't make sense to me, but
No, go ahead.
I'll let it
Need
go.
clarification to satisfy you.
So my understanding, most of our buildings, all of our buildings that we own out there are in our custody. We do require them to give us adequate insurance, but we carry insurance on our buildings that they pay for. So we're ensuring that our building is covered either way. I don't know that we have any, and Scott, you correct me if I'm wrong, that they carry double insurance on those buildings. We carry the insurance and they pay us for our premiums.
But we're,
I don't agree with it, but
like Parker said, though, we're at risk. If something happens, our premiums are going to go up, not theirs. Eventually, when we renew, our premiums are going to go up based upon our claim ratios. And that, even though they reimburse us, we're going to be paying more if there's a claim on it.
yeah, but still, the building belongs to the city.
Right.
And so the city has a responsibility of making sure that it's insured to begin with.
Correct.
And whoever rents it or leases it or whatever, I mean, if they're negligent, then I can understand them paying for the damage.
Right.
But if it's just a natural disaster or an accident or whatever, then our insurance should be able to cover whatever damage there is. And then not the tenants.
Right. And that's what I think they're saying,
Yes.
Councilor Press, is that that's what's happening. But we're asking the tenant to reimburse us for the cost of that insurance. So the city is insuring it.
But we're getting the money back though.
It's a good deal for us.
I mean, it's a great deal, but it shouldn't work that way, not in my opinion, anyway.
Well, Councilor, because the Air Center is an enterprise, they're trying to go towards a cost replacement like model. And so just like a private landlord just considers insurance to be one more cost of doing business and incorporates that into the rent, it's a similar type of model here.
Okay.
Right. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but this is based upon a triple net theory. Triple net being that the tenant pays for insurance, they pay for property taxes, and any repairs or those kind of things. They have to pay for all of that. All we are is responsible for the structure, and that's it. They have to pay for everything else.
There's no rent liability because it's owned by the city. There's no ad valorem tax.
Right. We should charge them anyway.
You and I got to go have a cup of coffee one of these days.
There are no free rides in life.
Well, I get it, but this is dealing with that airport. It's very unique, a lot of different aspects.
I don't get an exemption on my home property taxes.
Well, I don't get it either.
Anyway, do we have a motion?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I move that we send to the entire city council the proposed lease by Aero Design Services LLC for, whatever it is, 240 square feet. What building is that?
1,000.
1,000.
Yeah.
Building, a portion of building 1,000.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor by signifying by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. There are no nays. So motion be carried. Item 2 on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I have a general question about item 2 and 3.
Well, shall we move the motion first and then you want to do
No,
discussion? Or you just-
This is a real simple little deal. We're authorizing the city manager to accept state of New Mexico money, and we're authorizing the mayor to accept FAA money. Is there some kind of legal requirement I'm not aware of here that has to be done this way?
I think it's the request of the actual entities involved.
It is. It's
Yeah.
the request of the grantors. The FAA prefers the mayor, the state prefers the city manager.
We're just doing it the way they like us to
The way
do it.
they ask us.
Okay. I'll move adoption of agenda item number 2, authorizing the city manager to accept the Mexico aviation funds.
I'll second.
All in favor by saying aye.
Discussion.
Or discussion, rather, is this a discussion? I'm sorry. I got a second. There's a discussion. I thought there was.
I mean, I get it. This is one of those complicated deals, not really complicated. It's just you can't get the state and the feds to ever agree on much,
That's probably true.
except the state loves it when the feds send them money.
No, Joe just wants more work, so it's okay.
We're just going to accept it.
Discussion now, is this just a continuance of an already adopted policy?
So this is housekeeping. We do this every year, and that's kind of what it says at the beginning there on my
Annually.
recap there. But we do this every year. It is a housekeeping deal so that if we didn't do this one resolution every year, one for the state, one for the FAA. We would have to come back for each and every grant and say, guys, we want to apply for a grant and we want to accept it. So really, that's what we're doing. We're covering all of them now in one resolution for this next fiscal year, just to keep it simple for staff.
Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that, I know that we've done it in the past, but I think at least I had a couple of individuals call me and ask me if indeed this is passed. Will this give 100% authority to the city manager and the mayor to execute without council approval?
No.
It will not do that. All it allows it is to negotiate.
Well-
Or does it come to council after the money is received or the grant is received?
Right, you're going to get a second bite at the apple on most of these. So one comes to mind that doesn't, that we just executed this year is our maintenance grant. We get, every 2 years, we get $20,000 a year from the state to do whatever maintenance type work we want to do. Typically, we use that in one fell swoop to buy a bunch of herbicide to kind of keep weeds off. But, so that's one example where you wouldn't see it again. It's under all the other thresholds for procurement and everything else. So you wouldn't see that one again. But all the rest of these grants are typically attached to projects. So you're going to see the task order, the PO, possibly an RFP or an ITB, those type of things come to you as well.
Okay, thank you.
This is the funding side, but you'll see the spending side come.
Yeah, this
Councilor Corn.
looks like, I mean, it's, if you read, it says accept and execute grant agreement. So actually, before you go for the grant, you ought to know have some inkling of what's going on. And then it'll have sufficient strings tied to it. These are not blank checks we're talking about. And SAA, except for that 20,000, is pretty specific on exactly what you can do with
Yeah,
it.
it's maintenance. So we can spend it on, we can spend it on oil, or we can spend it on herbicide, or those type of things. But
Yeah.
it's all for operational maintenance.
Security fencing, anything like that.
Anything like that.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd like to make a motion unless there's strenuous objection to adopt for the city council meeting, item number 2 and 3, dealing with the city manager. Number 2, for accepting with grant monies from the state of New Mexico. And item 3, the mayor to accept grant monies from the FAA.
He asked the clerk whether we can do 2 and 3 at once, but we didn't make a motion on 3 yet, so we're going to have to separate these, Councilor Corn.
Well, I just made it.
I think we have to make a motion and vote on it, and then make another motion and vote on it.
That's all we got to do.
Boy, back to legislature.
Try again.
All right, I'll do it for the city manager authority dealing with state of New Mexico.
Second,
Second.
everybody signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Being no opposition, so pass. Item 3.
I move that we adopt, legal committee adopt for city council approval of the mayor's authority to accept money from the Federal Aviation Administration.
Have a second?
Second, my turn, I guess.
Your turn.
Be
Discussion?
quick, she's still reading.
Any discussion? There being no discussion, all in favor by signifying by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. There being no opposition, so motion pass. Item number 4.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. I'm here to present the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Service Agreement. Just a little bit of background. The city of Roswell had all of our community service agreements revised in 2019. We updated them so that they are consistent and have a clearly defined scope of service. It includes metrics and reporting measurements on a quarterly basis, with a financial request happening in April of that year for budgetary reasons, and then a final report of their year's activities to the city council upon the funding request. This new agreement will follow the fiscal year and budget cycle. The current amount of the contract, which our contracts are for a 4-year term with a 1-year renewal, they're requesting an additional $20,000. So the current contract is at $30,000 per year. The new funding request for fiscal year 23 is in the amount of an additional $20,000, and their funding request indicated that it would cover the cost of a part-time office and social media staff member in order to have an online presence. On the second part, the total contract amount obviously is $50,000. If you guys are going to approve that recommendation, the scope of work would continue to be 40% for business development and retention, 20% for professional enhancements, and 40% allocated to their administrative costs. The metrics that they do on a quarterly basis are their activities, a profit and loss statement, budget versus actuals, financial reports, educational opportunities that are provided to members and non-members, recruitment efforts, and growth participation activities, their staffing changes or board changes, and then also any promotional or cooperative efforts within their organization. The annual report will come to the city council with this proposed annual budget. If approved today, they will provide you a list of their activities and new members and kind of just give you a full report. I also have Mr. Marcus here and Ms. Alma Sullis,
Yes.
Who is their president of the board, and other members of their organization to answer any questions that you might have.
Just procedurally for your information, we don't typically bring back renewals of existing contracts. Typically, when you approve a contract and then it has several renewals, for staff's point of view, you approve those renewals when you approve the contract. But when you have somebody come back and request a budget change and how much we're going to spend on it, then we will bring it back to you to say, we're not just renewing it on the terms that you approved at the time. These are new, they're asking for a bigger expenditure. And so that's why we are bringing it back to you in this case.
So is this a good opportunity for discussion, or do we need to make a motion?
Yeah, there's no motion on the table yet.
You can discuss before you.
And discuss
Okay.
before you, yes.
Okay. Well, my only concern is, and I keep asking this, is how can I make a decision on an increase of funding if I don't know what the financial budget looks like because I'm not in finance?
Well, at this time, you're only recommending, so you'll have the opportunity.
Does it go to finance?
Contracts do not go to finance typically. But if you would like to make a referral to the finance committee for consideration, that's another option. You don't have to make the action requested. You could refer it to finance instead. Although,
Mr. Chair, I believe there's a couple different things that happen here. So you're going to approve the concept or the agreement based upon these conditions. There will be a secondary when the budget is approved. If the budget is not approved, then that will make this contract not functioning within the budget. And so what best word for that is, I mean, we always retain the ability for the city council, if you do not fund something that we have an agreement with,
right.
that agreement is now null and void for the ability for that funding. So as you get through the conversation in the budget, we will do everything in our power in order to fund it the way the council has acted upon the contract. But if the council chooses not to fund the budget in that manner, the contract becomes null and void.
Yeah.
Structure.
In a sense, this kind of gives staff a heads up that this is what you want to do when we set the budget. We know that this particular contract we plan for to be this much more than last year. This kind of gives us some direction from you as to what you want to do in the budget.
You will come into the same conversation with the EDC agreement as well too. So that'll be the same kind of structure that you'll see when they come forward.
Gotcha.
So we approved the concept here and then,
Well, you're proving concept and recommending the $50,000 is what you're doing.
well,
Yeah, you're going to approve the contract of $50,000. However, when you get to approving the budget, if you do not approve the expenditure within that budget,
This contract.
then the contract's null and void.
Goes away. And so I do have a question for, you're saying that they do these quarterly reports. Where are they?
We receive them, we present them to Mr. Neb. We're happy to present them to the council. At the annual report, we give you a rundown of pretty much everything that they have, their annual report, basically.
I think in
everything that they've reported.
any organization that the city is, that those very important items are being seen and transparent. This is not transparent.
In the agreement, the annual report is the only document that was required to go to the city council. So if you wish to forward it on, I don't know if we have to do a language change in the agreement.
I don't know that we need to, in the sense that the staff liaison that's working with that entity can simply forward them to whichever.
But I would say that we could either add it on, just like we do with the department reports to the committee, or to a department report to the council. So
In this document, since we're renewing the contract and we're already amending it with regard to the pricing, we could also add another paragraph that says, and also quarterly report shall be made to X committee or to the council, or however you would like to do it. You can do
whatever
it.
helps with your.
Yeah.
And Mr. Navas, I hope you don't think that I'm picking on your organization at all.
I would hope not. No, I know you won't.
I'm not. What I'm trying to create is transparency,
Of course,
and I don't believe we've had it.
of course.
And these things need to go, every counselor needs to be aware of where our money is being spent, how it's being spent, and is it effectively, is it quality of life, is it whatever it is. I'm going to ask on this committee, and I sit on the budget committee, we're going to have some transparency so that we all know. And I'm not saying anybody's hiding anything, but it's going to be transparent.
We ought to make it part of the presentation, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
All presentations.
Yeah.
It ought to be
I
here.
would suggest in the future
Okay.
that you be prepared with financial reports so that we know what we're talking about.
We
It's
want you
not,
to cut down some trees.
yeah,
And
even do them electronic, I don't care how I get them.
Yeah.
Mr. Nava has submitted his, all of his quarterly reports. The other group that I oversee, we were waiting on some of their stuff. That's why we don't have.
And that way we know whether the people are responding on a timely basis.
Okay.
Because when you deliver funds to people, I hate to say we have gifts with strings attached, but there are strings attached to the gift.
Sure.
And that we ask every organization, not just Mr. Nardo's group, but every organization. Councilor President.
Okay, Mr. Chair, just for a matter of clarification, the amount of money that, not just the Hispano Chamber, but any organization gets, it's not a lump sum amount. Is that correct? Don't they get it on a quarterly basis or monthly basis, whatever?
So my two community agreements that I oversee, they are on a quarterly process. Mr. Mavers also sees another community agreement. All of those were made consistent in 2019 so that they are all done quarterly. So they all have the same due dates for their reports. They all have their invoices submitted at the same time. All of their funding, financial requests for the next year are on that April 15th. That allows us to present it to administration for our budget purposes for the next fiscal year. And then for our agreements, Hispano and EDC normally come this meeting and then present at the May council meeting. And then I believe he's going to have his group at the next group.
But the money is not dispensed in a lump sum amount.
So it's by,
Based on the,
so they have to submit their quarterly report. And if they're missing anything, we go back to them and say, okay, I don't have your profit and loss statement, or I didn't get this. We have a checklist that we review before we pay them their invoice.
Okay.
For that quarter. So for example, I know Mr. Navas, we processed theirs on the 4/12. So he should be receiving his third quarter payment of the 15,000 within the next week. It takes about 10 days for finance to cut the check. But he met all of his third quarter metrics.
Okay, thank you.
And that's something that I'm happy to provide to you guys if you prefer in this committee or however you want it. In the current contract, it had not been requested by the counselors, only at the annual one.
I have a question for you, Mr. Neighbors. Are we making sure that all of these entities that we're granting funds from operating up to all the ordinances that we have on the city? Are we doing inspections of facilities? What are we doing? Are we making sure that they're all in compliance?
Yes. I need a liaison to Main Street Roswell. It's a couple of others, and I have personally visited, in fact, I'm out there visiting Main Street Roswell every once in a month. They have submitted their reports. I'm doing that, packing up this thing, sitting on my desk right now. Financials and other information. Getting them before you working on their new agreement here next month.
Mr. Patterson, I would like to see something in these agreements with these people that they certify that they're operating in compliance with all the ordinances of this city. We make all of our businesses operate that way, and we find them in violation. I don't want this city to be funding somebody who's in violation of our city ordinances.
Yeah, and I don't have this one in front of me, but typically our boilerplate does have something not quite that specific, but generally says that the entity we're dealing with does comply with all state, federal, and local laws. But if you'd like to see something more specific as to complying with all, laws relating to, buildings and all that, we can get more
I
specific.
think it's only right that they've certified that they're operating within the correct parameters that this city has put forward. Because I don't want to go fine. I don't want to tell Mr. Neighbors come in here and say, oh, I had to fine working day mothers because they're in violation. We just funded them.
Yes, sir.
I don't want that black eye.
Okay, we can do that. Yeah.
That doesn't sell well in newspapers. So.
Well, it sells the newspaper.
Don't tell them. But you'll find out.
Wait a minute, whoa.
I did go look at working mother daycare, and I was impressed.
Oh, no, they've done a good job over there. It didn't used to be that way, did it, Dave?
I mean, you asked for transparency, and now you're saying keep it from the media. Look, where are you, Mr. Chairman?
No, I didn't say keep it from them. Find out about it. We don't need to be doing anything that they need to.
Okay, be sure you get all the quotes right and give them to the right party.
That all came from Councilor Thorne. Prepared statement that he gave me. Okay, where are we? Do we need a motion now?
No.
Or you got more discussion?
I got more. Okay. Looking at documents, do I direct the questions to you or do you want to answer?
I'll answer.
Okay. So what assurances can you give me that none of these neither one of these $500 scholarships is the city of Roswell money?
I don't think I've asked where the people live. Is that what you're asking?
No. Okay. I'm saying, are you taking?
The anti-donation, you know where you're going, Bob?
Yes.
Because we do have.
We have a anonymous donor that has given us money to provide those scholarships.
Okay.
And those are, you can find those in our minutes when we announce we have a $500 or $1,000 donor to provide scholarships to a student at the university. And mostly he requires that, but not real strict about it, that they be an accounting student, but we will give it to whoever needs it. So yes, we have a designee for that amount.
So you assure me that you keep the funds separated. So if you've got somebody donating $1,000 to give you two $500 scholarships or $5,000, I don't care. That money's accounted for, doesn't go into your general fund, if you will.
That is true.
Okay. So what is your total budget, operating budget? See, we don't have a disclosure.
Total budget, I would say, going top of my head, it's about 102. So not a big budget.
Okay. So your total, and that's derived from, besides, if you, right now, you're getting 30 of that from the city, correct?
Yes.
And the rest of it's made up from membership fees?
membership fees, donations. We do 2 fundraisers a year, which is our Fiesta, Cinco de Mayo, and our festival from that.
Okay, so what's the total membership of the Hispano Chamber of Commerce? Round figures, I know.
It's about 125.
And where are we on their audit? Are they current on their audit?
So they actually do not have an audit in their contract. They provide their profit and loss budget versus actuals because their budget is not as large. So they give us copies of invoices, checks, those kind of things.
Who prepares your statement?
It's Alex Urquidez.
That's extra prepared.
Yes, sir. Well, external, the sense that Mr.
Third party, somebody.
Mr. Urquidez is our treasurer,
Okay,
and he's also the owner of Amigo Tax.
yeah.
And he provides
Okay.
services. Yes.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'm thinking, Mr. Chairman. That sounds like an internal situation to me.
Some semi-internal. But he's independent. He's not a CPA, but he is probably an enrolled agent for tax purposes, I would assume. But probably been doing this for a while. I don't know, because we don't have a document. We don't know how detailed that document is and whether it goes line item by line item and breaks it down, or it's just G&A expense. Or does it talk about rent? Does it talk about all these things? I don't know that because guess what? We haven't been prepared. Not against you, Mr. No, but we have not been prepared to see these things.
It was not required previously. So if you would
Yeah.
like to table this, we can provide
I'm
it
not
if
willing
that's
to
what you're
table it. I'm
wanting
just
to
telling
do.
you, again, going back to our transparency.
Sure.
We need this.
Let me take you back here. We're going to sell you that car, but don't worry about the price. I'll fill it in after you sign your contract. Doesn't work that way.
Well,
But I'm willing to move on with this motion. We'll address it when we get to the budget.
I'm not sure I'm comfortable doing it that way.
Well, if I have a motion, we'll move on.
Well, I'll get a vote no when the time comes.
How you wish.
You're in my space.
Huh?
That's my space.
Well, excuse me, here, draw your line. Hey, I need lots of room. I get to waving my arms
I sit
and,
next to you all the time.
yeah, but I can stay away from you. I found on Councilman Foster. I don't know, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the Hispano Chamber supporting other entities within the community Eastern. There's one thing I see here that's probably most focused on what I understand their deal is, and that's a small business development center. But that belongs to somebody else. You guys just support that, or is this your?
Collaborate with them. We collaborate with the university in providing assistance to them and knowledge, working out to their
Eastern
community. And then the small business development centers that we're talking about,
Yeah,
that they're part of the university, and we collaborated with them, providing their subject matter knowledge to provide seminars to our people that we invite and they come.
and where are you presently headquartered?
We're at 306 North Pennsylvania in the Pioneer Bank branch. Beautiful facility, 3-acre suite.
Are they giving a subsidizing part of your rent?
No,
Right. They're not.
well, they're being kind. We pay $500 a month.
Get a lot of space.
I'm sorry,
You have plenty of space over there.
plenty of space, very nice office.
Yeah.
Much better than we were before, and which was nice. But we've come a long way to stop the space. There, the Pioneer branch, bank branch is a wonderful space. Very happy to be there.
So, Mr. Journey, you've been awful quiet.
Are we moving on?
Yeah, I see on page 47. Am I out of?
You're out of sequence, sir.
Oh, okay, all right.
We're still on item number 4.
Well,
Any further
I'm just
discussion?
trying to get my mind wrapped around this, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me, I'm a new kid on the block.
It's all mine. I'm asking for more discussion. If there is no more discussion,
Chair, could I offer a recommendation? We'll let the Hispano Chamber come in at the next council meeting and deliver their annual report. We'll bring this back to the next round of the legal committee for final action on the agreement. That'll give you all the information that you need, I think. Okay.
I'm satisfied with handling this in budget.
Okay. I just wanted to offer that option. I know.
But I don't want to hold them up or whatever we're doing here. But the money's not going to come till budget comes anyway.
It won't.
This is next year's budget.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we do postpone,
It will
doesn't
not
harm this.
harm the Hispano Chamber. So that's the only reason I recommend or provide that recommendation, because if you would like to add in the audits and stuff like that. So
Mr. Chairman, move to table till the next meeting, then we'll go ahead and hear the report at the city council. I think that's appropriate. Somehow I think we got the cart before the horse here a little bit.
this is the way we've done it, yeah, in the past. So we're happy to shift anyway to what provide all.
I hope you know what I'm saying.
Yes, sir, I do.
The past is a past.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a rearview mirror. I got a windshield.
Yep.
And
Yep.
with my financial background.
Yep. So, and I mean, with given time, we can make sure that you have all that information.
Yeah.
So that's why I recommend.
That's fine. I'm not trying to make it difficult. I'm just trying to.
You want a motion? I just made it.
Do I have a second for that? Table. The motion is
To table.
table this item.
Yeah, but still invite them to the city council meeting
Yes,
to make their
yes. They'll be
presentation.
able to do their annual report.
Doesn't slow anything down.
Okay.
It's all suspect to what the finance committee does anyway.
And the full council, yep. So I have a motion for that. Do I have a second? Councilor President?
I'll second.
Yeah. All in favor by signifying by aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fowler.
Item number 5, Working Mother's Day nursery lease.
Thank you. Committee, I'm back with Working Mother's Day Nursery. They wish to continue their lease of the property at 500 East Bland. Working Mother's Day Nursery provides an early childhood development program for children between the ages of 6 and 5 years old at below market rates for less advantaged children and families in Roswell and Chaves County. Working Mother's Day Nursery would pay an annual rent in the total of $1 per year for the use of the buildings and provide insurance. They're asking for a 5-year term with one additional period of 5 years.
We have a CPI clause in that thing?
No, sir. No, sir. And Mr. Journey is here too to help answer any questions.
So if I could real quick, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And congratulations to the new counselors and
The old one.
keep it straight.
Throw something at him.
So just real quick, Working Mother's Day Nursery is a product of the Assistance League back in the mid-50s, where they started a child care center in an abandoned school building on the corner of Bland and Sherman. That eventually in 1991, fast forward, quantum leap. In 1991, the city did a community development block grant and built the existing building. So it is a city-owned property, and we're here to talk to you about a continuation of our current lease. So in 1991, there was a separate entity, a nonprofit organization that was Working Mother's Day Nursery. And in the early 2000s, they were struggling financially, and they were also struggling from a regulatory perspective as well. They contacted Family Resource and Referral. Let me back up. I'm the executive director of Family Resource and Referral. So back in 2002, they contacted Family Resource and Referral for some guidance and some technical assistance in how they could better utilize the services that they have and generate revenues. An agreement was made. The executive director, once made that agreement, left. I was hired and I came on board the 1st of January 2003. We worked with Working Mother's Day Nursery. And the beauty about what happened being in an agency like we have is that we were able to compensate some of the growing pains and some of the loss of expenditures. And so we worked on it for a number of years. And then in about 2006, merged the two nonprofit organizations into one. So Working Mother's Day Nursery is now a program of Family Resource and Referral. When we took over, it was a beautiful building and the rest of it was a wreck. We were able to utilize, because it is city owned, we were able to utilize capital outlay through our legislators who helped us to fund some of the cleaning of the playground area that they had, taking out all the old equipment, putting in some new. They gave us some legislative money to help with a bike trail and some other improvements to the playground area. We worked with local grant providers to get monies for other improvements that needed to be done. Is it the Sertoma Golf? Is it Sertoma's that have the golf tournament? So we were the beneficiary one year and we replaced all the heating and cooling systems. We have used the private grant funders to help us with redoing the flooring and to doing a number of different things to the existing building. We decided to think bigger. And so what we did was we went to the legislature in 2007, I believe, and they awarded us $100,000. We put a single portable out back. Would be this single one here. That was the first improvement that we made. And then a couple of years later, we continued to have the fever. We went to the city and talked to them about sponsoring again a community development block grant for Working Mother's Day Nursery. They approved it. And for $350,000 or so, I think was the amount that was awarded, we were able to place these two double portables and to create a fencing around the exterior that was higher, and then we put a mesh fencing on as a protection for the kids from people just pulling up and sitting in their cars and making everybody nervous. So those are the improvements that we've made. We additionally have put in, this is a pretty recent picture. We've additionally put in ourselves two apparatuses, swings, and a nice playground unit for kids. Over in this area, we have the toddler area, and we will be putting additional playground equipment in there as well. We went through all the sand, we went through all the wood chips, and now they have the Victor turf that is really quite nice and quite soft as a fall zone for the kids. So our thought has always been, what can we do to continue to improve upon the facility and to create more of an opportunity for the kids. Let me tell you real quick, and then I've got a couple of things. I didn't know how many people were going to be here. But when we took over, there were probably 35 kids. And right now, pre-COVID, we had about 110. And right now, we're at about 185 to 190. And there's a couple of reasons for that. What I want to do before we get into the lease agreement, any questions that you might have, is there are, I think, two stipulations that you ask us to really pay close attention to. One of them is the agreement that we have is that because of the location of the center, it tended to be available more for low-income families. And as long as we're below the markets on our tuition rates, then that was the compensation for rent. Additionally, we're responsible for all the insurance. We're responsible for all the maintenance. We're responsible, you guys, that's a beautiful building and a nice piece of property, and you don't have to do much with it at all. We've taken care of it. That's the offset. What I'd like to do real quick, and I just have 5 of these. I'm so sorry that I didn't have more, but I wanted to make sure that the council had them. This is just a brief explanation of the first stipulation of being below market. And what I put out here, for those that don't know, Working Mother's Day Nursery is a licensed facility, and it's licensed to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When we first did that, we did it out at the college, at the Child Development Center. And when the state approved it, we were the only non-governmental agency in the state of New Mexico that had been approved for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There were 2 others, and they were on military bases. So we felt very good about that. When COVID hit and the college closed down, and they closed that center down, then we moved that expanded hours to Working Mother's Day Nursery. And so it has that capability of being 24/7. But right now, our current operating hours are 6:30 in the morning until midnight. We employ 32 people. Our annual payroll just for the nursery is about $500,000. And I wanted to just show you real quick that we are a good employer. We have 7 employees at minimum wage. We have 14 employees between $12 and $13 an hour. We have 8 employees between $13, $15, and $15 an hour. And we have 3 employees at $15 an hour plus. So we try to create a professional environment, and we want to pay our employees professionally. Again, current enrollments between 185 and 190 kids. CYFD, which is now ECECD, provides contracts for low-income families. And in my estimation, this is an indicator as to we are staying within that scope of the agreement that we have with you. 75% of the kids, approximately 75% of the kids that attend Working Mother's Day Nursery are on contracts. So they come from low-income families. Our tuition rates, I have real quick, just as a comparison, our tuition rates for children under 2 years of age is $105 a week. Over 2 is $100 a week. We did a comparison on 3 other centers in town. One center under age 2 is $155 a week. And over 2 is $144 a week. So the difference between our $52.50 annual cost and their $77,750 annual cost, I hope is that compensation that the city's looking for. And of course, that's one child. You take that, you multiply by 10, you multiply by 50, then the numbers are significant. So with the lease, what we did, the second The second component was insurance. And I called our insurance agent today and she's on vacation. I wish I could have gotten a little bit sooner. But we've had insurance for the last 17 years with Meridian, now LP. Carolyn Hardwick is the agent that I work with and have for the last 17 years. We have all the general liability. We have all the commercial liability. We have workman's comp. We have property insurance on the building. We pay tens of thousands of dollars a year, making sure that we satisfy that component as well. I will get that information to you as soon as she gets back. I'll get the certificate information so that you can see what the premiums are and what the coverage is. The contract or the lease agreement here calls for coverage of $2 million. Ours has been $1 million. And so I'd like to see if maybe we can negotiate a few of those as soon as I know exactly what our limits are. But I think they're closer to $1 million on the liability and maybe $500,000 on workman's comp. So with the lease, we used the Head Start program as a template because it was just too difficult to sit down and try to do it from scratch. A couple things that are in here that I wanted to go over with you real quick, just because they were different than what the Head Start program had. And it's in the whereases. And the third whereas says that Family Resource and Referral Working Mothers Day Nursery has increased enrollment from 45 children to approximately 200 children with improvements supported by local grant funding for nonprofit organizations, the next legislative capital outlay funding, City of Roswell supported community development block grant funding, as well as general fund reserves from Family Resource and Referral for the betterment of the children. A couple of whereas is over. It says Family Resource and Referral Working Mothers Day Nursery has operated the Child Development Center in good faith to determine the above referenced addendum to the execution of this lease agreement. It is understood that a lapse in the term of the lease existed from February 28, 2019 to the present as a result of the mandates that affected normal business standards due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Parties acknowledged that the lease was in no way adversely affected by the lapse in renewal. So I came over in 2019 before the lease expired, and I turned it over to Sharon Call. And Sharon logged it in, was going to get it to the legal department. I don't believe that you were here at that time. Might have been, maybe you were, I don't know. But I think it just kind of fell by the wayside. And I'll tell you in just a minute why I am generating it again, although it just needs to be done. But I think it's important, and I hope that you will agree that both sides continue to work in good faith, even though the lease that we signed back in 2016, that extension period had expired. The next whereas says Family Resource and Referral Working Mothers Day Nursery proposes to expand the classroom capacity by 2 additional portable buildings, which would be 4 classrooms and enrollment of 60 children, as well as to make numerous upgrades to the facility and grounds, totaling approximately $700,000. Funding for the improvements will come from a child care stabilization grant, as well as general fund reserves from Family Resource and Referral Inc. That kind of leads me into why we looked at the lease again. Back in October, the state had grant applications for child care workers, child care providers, whether you're a home daycare provider, center provider, or even an after-school program. And they provided money based on a period of time going back to March of 2020 that you own the building, that you were leasing the building through the current time in October. We applied for the money for Working Mothers Day Nursery. We got $531,000. We're going to use a portion of that for our employees, but we're going to be putting approximately $460,000 into the new portables. but we need the lease to be in place. No monies have been expended. Until we get this taken care of, the lease needs to be in place. And that's why I put that whereas in there to bridge that gap. Not to try to be sneaky, but to be very upfront. That in everybody's, if you had a problem, I'm guessing you would have asked us to leave. If we had a problem, we would have left. So I think we need to bridge that gap because, and with the stabilization money, I'm trying to do everything as tight as I possibly can because it's subject to federal and state audits. And so I don't want this to be a hiccup on anybody's books. Okay. So those whereases are in there for that purpose. The stabilization money will be used to do the additional portables. As we did these other improvements, we kept in mind that we wanted to continue to create capacity for, and these two slots right here seem like the last two locations. We'll do double portables like this. There's a double fence right here that leads in. So we'll put one on this side and one on that side. And then we'll bridge this with a concrete drive so that equipment or whoever needs to can get inside of it. 200 kids approximately is what our enrollment is, and we have a waiting list. So we believe that we're going to continue to provide opportunities for more children. There are some other areas that we've been approached with. Some would really like us to do preschool, pre-K, I'm sorry. And we just haven't had a location for that. But these could very easily work in that capacity. Pre-COVID, when we were out at the college, 24/7, CYFD approached us about situations where they go into homes, domestic violence situations in the middle of the night, and they take the kids out, and they don't have any place to take them. I mean, calling people in the middle of the night is, you can do that, but chances are it'll be a while before you make the arrangements. So they wanted to know if we'd be interested in having those kids go out to the center at the college, and we told them, absolutely, let's talk about that and get it figured out. Eddy County, Artesia is in the same boat. They need a place to where they can take those kids because they just take them back to the office with them, and they put them on a cot, and the kids are traumatized in the first place, and that just doesn't help the situation. And so one of the things that we want to do is on this portable right here, the drawings that have been prepared for this last phase, we put some off-street parking right here, we put a gate right here, and any time that ECD calls or the police department calls and they have kids that need a place, we'll have a portable that we will convert from what we typically have, which is in the middle. We have the two classrooms in the middle, we have two bathrooms. Is we'll close that off and we will create two bathrooms with showers, one for a girls' bunk and one for a boys' bunk. They've got the outside. It's a different environment. We fix our breakfast, our meals on site. The kids could eat out at the portable. They could go into the building. They could feel a whole different sense about the current situation that they were in. And so that's an option as well. I think ultimately what we want to try to do is to see as we get moving, to see what the best utilization of that would be. So we'll kind of leave that open a little bit. But we're going to continue to, I mean, we got the estimate from the architect, ASA Hal Barnett is doing the work. He did it on the other 2 or 3 projects. I believe that we're going to be able to get Holloway to be the contractor on the job. Once the portables are in, we'll start working on some playground equipment, like I said, in the toddler area. There's some things inside that need to be done. It's a 30-year-old building. And so we want to replace some toilets. We want to replace some sinks. We want to continue to give it another 15 or 20 or 25 years without a whole lot of difficulties.
I have to say one thing, Mr. Journey, that you're doing a fantastic service to this community.
Thank you.
And it is filling a gap, and where you're wanting to go even further is absolutely wonderful as well, that you're filling another gap that's not in this, that's a big hole in this community. And I want to commend you and your staff of what you're doing out there. Now, I know that the people that are working for you, they have a special talent that they're willing to work for those wages, because it's not just a wage for them. They've got a calling, or whatever you want to say, that they thoroughly want to be there.
Right.
I was over at the Boys and Girls Club. Same thing with those ladies working over there. They have this, it's not about the money for them. It's about what they're doing for children, about what you're doing for children. So, and I don't know how much more this city could support you and your group and what you're doing out there, if that's a possibility. And I don't know, are you receiving any other funding from the city?
No, we were a United Way agency,
Right.
but truly God has blessed us. And we know that pie is limited. And so rather than taking a piece of it, we have gracefully bowed out, and we're managing just fine.
Okay. Well, again, I want to commend you on what you're doing for this community and creating a better quality of life for a lot of folks.
Can I tell you one of the really fun things about when we do projects like this? There are a number of young men that come in that are working on the cruise that say, this is where I went.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great feeling.
And when the crews are there, our staff is, our kitchen staff are preparing meals for them and taking snacks out to them. And we try to create goodwill as we go through the process.
Are you satisfied with this lease?
Well, I am. I think that, I hope that Todd made just a little bit of a mistake. I wanted to check in real quick because I was delighted when I read the Head Start. It was a 5-year with 3 5-year extensions. So I was thinking 20 years instead of 10.
On the term.
Well, yes.
5 years, this agreement may be renewed up to 3 additional periods of 5 years each.
Right.
So
That'd be 20 years.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I saw 1 5-year.
With the amount of money that they're investing into the property and with projects on the table, I felt it appropriate to try to give them some more peace of mind and security, if it pleases you, so they can move forward with investing into the property.
Don't disagree.
See, what it comes up to is, as long as we do a good job, we'll stay there. We start doing a bad job.
I know that Kevin has taken a tour of the building, and I've gone out there and drove around. It's immaculately kept. Every aspect of, from what I've seen.
Mr. Journey set me up intentionally. But when I went out there, he had me come out at 8:30 in the morning, 8:30. And then I actually got there a few minutes early and sat in the parking lot, and I just watched this constant stream of cars pulling in and the kids getting out. By the time I went in the building, all the kids were sitting down, getting the breakfast, things were cooking. I mean, and there was nothing, unlike going into some daycare centers and other things, there was no crying, there was no whining, there was nothing but children enjoying themselves, having a nice time. I tell you, if you're ever having a bad day, go there and eat breakfast.
Yeah.
It's joy.
I was wondering if that goes for the teachers too.
They seem to be pretty happy. I tell you, they do all right. I've also reviewed the new development plans, and I do have one suggestion, and that's they put a walk-up window in the kitchen area. So they can sell to those of us that just happen to be driving by. There was some smells coming out of that kitchen. They were already prepping for lunch at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm telling you, I go back and pay for what they can go. And there are a lot of late night and weekend single parents that work. And we're open at 6:30 on Saturday and 6:30 on Sunday morning.
So
And we're there until the kids leave. So if they're there till midnight, we're there till midnight.
that's awesome.
Those pictures are, the first one is the first portable that we put in. And then you can see the other couple of portables. There's playground equipment that we put in. I wanted you to see that as well. And then the last couple of pictures, I think, are the areas on the back fence where we'll put the two additional portable buildings. And they're not elevated. They're dug out and they sit flat. We got the two that we have. We got them from the Nazarene Church.
Oh, yeah.
When they took the school and terminated that. And so we went out and I worked a deal with them. And so we got those two, and then we needed someplace to put them. So that's when we went to get the CDBG money.
How do you capture these photos without children?
Timing. See, actually, I had them all out there painting the grass.
Oh.
Clean up a little bit, so.
No. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair. You mentioned insurance. You want to go back to that just a little bit?
Of course.
So I see 2 million on the commercial liability. That's an increase.
Well, again, Councilor Corn, this is the template that they had for Head Start.
Right.
And so that's what's in there. We currently have a $1 million, and that has worked for the city for 17 years. If you want it to be higher, we will certainly do that. But if not, then if you're comfortable with where we are, I'd like to make those changes within the lease, and thank you for bringing that up.
Let me address the insurance issue really quickly. Our standard form is 2 million, and I'll say, I know that you'll see 1 million a lot in just general, but our public insurance manual where we generate these forms out of recommends 2 million. So we have gone to 2 million, as they basically said, with inflation over recent years, 1 million just doesn't cut it anymore. The other aspect of that is that because of this new legislation out of the state that creates civil rights liability up to 2 million per incident and no cap beyond that. So I mean, if you have, depending on how many planes you have, so we have started increasing our CGL insurance because of that possibility. You know, the way that the Civil Rights Act from the New Mexico legislature is written is actually broader than the one at the federal level. And so we don't know right now, because it's a new legislation, we don't know how broad that would be. And, you know, arguably reading it, it could cover acts by people in contractual privity with the city. If they were to, quote, violate someone's civil rights, it could blow back on the city, and then the city would have to cover that damage. So that's why we have been going towards the $2 million model. That said, you know, it's just a question of your risk tolerance. So, you know, if you would like to make a motion to decrease it,
we'll go to 2 million.
Okay.
We'll just solve that right now.
All right. I noticed.
And I think it's $1 million on workman's comp. Is that what that says? We've been at 500,000, so we'll go up to $1 million.
Although, I mean, we've got, and this is my next question that you can't answer. Mr. Parker can't. I noticed that you just X the box under 1, didn't X the box for 2, 3, 4, X the box for 5. So you're not required to carry 2, 3, 4.
yes, sir. That's the way that the draft is right now. You'll see it, the way that because again, this is a form that we use, and so we use it for everybody, and we just tick the box that is relevant to the, you know, party that we would like them to get particular insurance. So check all that apply. Right now, we've checked the CGL and the property, and the middle 3 we're not requiring under this contract.
So does Working Days Nursery own any vehicles?
No.
you, other than cases of emergency, go pick up a kid in your personal vehicle?
No, they do not get in our vehicles.
Okay.
They don't take them home. They'll do it for a friend.
And you're covered under workman's comp as outlined by the state of New Mexico.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm done.
Any further discussion? Need a motion, please, put this on the table.
I move, Mr. Chairman, this goes to the city council, right?
Yes, sir.
That we forward the working day nursery lease agreement to the city council for the review.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Being no opposition, no move.
Thank you.
Thank
Is there
you.
anything special I should do for the council?
Yeah, if you talk for another 5 minutes, I was going to vote no.
Bobby, I've talked a lot in this room before, but that was tough getting started.
Oh, we treated you with kids.
Yeah. Mr. Attorney, thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your kind words.
Item number 6.
Oh, we're going to get rid of something?
Thank you. Yes, hopefully.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you very much. The city of Roswell wishes to sell 928 Davidson Drive that was bequeathed to the city of Roswell Public Library. The city had an appraisal of the property to determine its market value. Market value was assessed at $80,000. We then listed the property with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services and Shannonland Realtors, February 23rd. Property's listing was open for offers until April 15th. We received 7 offers. 4 offers were above the appraised amount. Offer 6 is the one that we are looking for, being the highest pre-qualified offer. If that is accepted, it will yield or net $84,812.44 to the library. So yes, we want to get rid of this one.
We have a picture of where it's located or what it is?
Yes, there is a
Oh, there it is. I'm sorry.
photo there of that house. Still a little three bedroom, 2-bath home.
Nice.
In a nice little quiet neighborhood there off of Union. So yeah, I think they showed the property a total of 15 times, and to get 7 offers was pretty good. Most of them being above the appraised market value on that. So, and then we're asking to take the highest offer, highest pre-qualified offer. Yeah.
And just procedurally to explain our thinking here, we got 2 actions that we're asking for on this one. One is to recommend which offer to accept. And then the second one is to recommend that we authorize advertising ordinance for the sale. And I'll get into the details on that when we get there. But this one, we're just asking you to pick an offer.
Now the funds are dedicated to the library. And that's all. We don't have to take any action for that.
Correct.
The money goes to the library, it essentially goes into the reserves, and then you guys will determine at some point in time how they are spent.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, move we accept the recommended offer for 928 Davidson Drive and forward this on for the full city council. Is that right? Okay.
Always Parker gives you a thumbs up. Good.
I'll second.
You got to say something down there. You can't.
I know, I was waiting.
He can't.
Have a second, Councilor.
You already beat me to it, so.
Motion being seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Being no opposition, motion so passed.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could have the floor one more time.
Yes, you may have it.
I recommend that we forward to the city council our recommendation to authorize advertisement of the property located at 928 Davis Drive. That's why you wanted to do that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, so what you'll find in your packet is a proposed ordinance here. We got a couple blanks. And that's because we are waiting for the council to tell us which offer to accept. And then, so the way that we thought we would do this is that the authorization to advertise and the recommendation of which offer go up first. And then by the time we get to the second reading of the public hearing, they'll have chosen the offer and it will all be complete by the time of the hearing. Just for your understanding, state law does govern the sale of municipal real property. Does require us, when the appraisal is over 25,000, to pass an ordinance. That's the wonderful procedure that we've gotten from the state. Suffice it to say, they weren't thinking about someone trying to sell residential property when they designed that process, which so Todd has really been instrumental in figuring out how to do that. What will, if we pass the ordinance, then it has a 45-day period before it's actually effective. During the first 30 days of which citizens have the opportunity, if they can get 15% of the registered voters to sign a petition, they could cause us to be required to go get a referendum election on whether to sell or not. I don't think we're going to have that. I mean, I'm going to touch wood. I think that we'll be okay. So assuming that we don't have a referendum election, then 45 days after it was adopted, we could close and actually do the deed and get everything done.
By the way, Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Hey, Ron.
Thank you, Councilor President. All those.
I just have one more question for Mr. Parker.
Yes, sir.
I'm going right to the vote. I didn't want any discussion. We can have.
Yes or no, Mr. Chairman?
You can have the floor.
Okay. I'm just wondering if he could think of more complicated situation. I'll hand carry it to Santa Fe next time because they like to do this stuff.
Sure.
I mean, I can't believe this.
Well, it gets more complicated when we recently, last year, sold a property to Aragon at the Air Center. We had to do a whole song and dance because what the statute says is that if you end up selling it for less than the appraised value, you have to do a cost justification for some other value that they're providing. And so not only did we have to do this whole process, we had to do the appraisal, then compare it to what they were purchasing it for, and then do a justification of the difference. So it does get worse than this.
So while I've got the floor, Mr. Chairman, this.
Might yank the floor in a second.
Huh?
Go ahead.
I'm trying to learn something. I might learn you something too. I know that it's going to be interesting to find out. So this property that we're condemning and tearing down and all that stuff, do we have to go through all of this to sell a vacant piece of land?
Once it's vacant, it's unlikely to be more than $25,000 at appraisal. Usually those appraised at like a couple grand.
Yeah.
And those you do not have to go through this process of.
Anything less than 25,000,
Just get rid of it?
yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I did. Thank you, Councilor. Now that I have a second, any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by aye. Opposed, nay. There being no opposition, so pass. Before we get to the reports, Patterson, on page 30 of our packet, maybe you anticipated this, but I didn't bring it up when it happened. My question was on page 30, you have in there board and/or committee action. The May 28, 2022 regular meeting of the legal committee will be the first consideration of this item.
Yes, sir.
Is that?
Well.
I mean, we had it today.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a typo. Should be the 8th.
I didn't know whether Joe had already told you we're going to postpone it or not. Will you go buy my lottery ticket?
Yeah.
That's a typo.
Okay, I saw that earlier and didn't ask, but now that we tabled it, it doesn't matter. So, okay. So now we move on to department reports, legal.
You can see what we've got in our papers here. We're working on a couple different ordinances, including the one for massage establishments, which some of you have been involved in recently. One of the major things we're doing right now is helping the city clerk's office. What with the recent events, we've kind of stepped in to take care of all of that. It's been a learning experience as much for me as for Amalia, because it was one thing when city clerk brings you things every once in a while. Can you answer this question? Can you answer this question? But to be in the trenches every day, being like, how do you do this and how do you do that? And it's been a learning experience, I think, for everybody, but it's been good. And we are continuing to handle all of the municipal prosecutions. Josh does a great job of that. I'll tell you that we go all the way up and down the courts. We're in front of we just had something come out of the Supreme Court just yesterday on these municipal prosecutions. You'd be surprised to learn that, but it's true. We have some interesting characters that will take a traffic ticket as far as they can. So we're all over the place with that stuff. Other than that, we're doing our usual contracts and civil proceedings. We'll do a litigation update at the coming council meeting to tell you about all of the different civil litigation matters we've got pending right now. But obviously, we don't discuss those in open session.
Right. That will be in private.
Right. Yes, we'll go into closed session for that.
Till 1 o'clock in the morning.
I sure hope not.
Why not? Don't have to work.
That's just not right.
Are you telling me to quit my day job?
No, I'm not.
I'm sorry, Mr. Benson. Please proceed.
That's all I've got. If you got any questions for me about what we're doing at the legal department, happy to answer them.
I do have a question concerning the massage parlor ordinance. I know in one of the meetings, it was kind of mentioned, but not in detail or anything. So what is it that we're doing with the ordinance, trying to move the individuals from where they are, or?
No, and I think Councilor Perry has been the main mover on this one. So he knows it's kind of his vision, and we're trying to make his vision, produce a document that reflects his vision to bring it forward. And I think the plan is to bring it to the next legal as an actual proposed ordinance. We're going to create or propose to create a new section in the business licenses, which would create an actual license for massage parlors where and I say massage parlor, really
Massage
establishments is really the correct parlance. And so basically they would be able to come in and show that each of their massage therapists is licensed under the state so that we can verify that at the city level as well, because, they get it out of the state, but then the state may not be down here to go door to door and check. Are all the massage therapists here properly licensed by the state? They have to get a certification after doing training so that they don't injure people and things like that. And then on top of that, I think that there's the idea to go through some zoning type issues, make it a conditional use in a commercial zone so that they have to go through a process to make sure that their hours of operation and, that they're all of these things so that's the idea that we're.
I guess what I'm getting at is why all of a sudden the interest of going through all this process when a lot of them have been here for ever and a day, I would imagine.
Yes, and I think you have to ask Councilor Perry that because this is his vision. I'm just trying to help him realize it. But my understanding from him is that, there's a concern over human trafficking and a lot of these places pop up overnight and are not necessarily properly licensed under the state. And so, those that are licensed under the state properly, this process shouldn't affect them too much. It's those ones that are working in the shadows and not properly, doing it correctly that this would affect.
This one, at least the way I understand it, we're talking about all the massage establishments, not just the ones that pop up overnight or whatever.
Right.
And unless you come up with some kind of proof that is happening, then I would say, let's look at it.
Yeah.
But if there's nothing there, I don't see why we have to put additional requirements on the ones that are already established.
Well, and I'll say a couple things about it. One, we have been in contact with some of the massage parlors that we know are properly licensed and had meetings with them to discuss some of these matters. And at least the few we talked to are on board with it in the sense that they would like to see these fly-by-night, negative operations. They bring the whole industry into disrepute, so to speak. So we have been talking with them. And some of the things that we're putting into the ordinance are actually their ideas. And then the other aspect of it, I will say, is that I think the plan is that we will bring forward the police are already, we've been talking also to the police department, and they also are working to talk to us about, what is the actual problem here? And I think that part of that presentation that we're planning to bring will have all of those pieces to it.
Well, my concern is, are we catering to one counselor if he's the only one that's interested in this?
Well, presumably, if it's only one counselor who's interested in it, will not.
It won't get out of this committee.
So, yeah.
Because that's what it sounds like.
If I could add just a little bit more information on that, because if you'll look back at the Albuquerque Journal in the last 30 days, there was an issue out of Albuquerque with the massage parlors with human trafficking. There is a concern here based upon what some of the information that we're receiving from the police department, that there may be some of that occurring in the city. And so I'll leave it at that, as broad as that, because I don't want to talk about that, any of that detail in here. I think the intent was, and we were just talking a little bit as well too, is that we need to get this to the floor so that everybody can participate in that conversation and be there. But there is an issue out there that we are concerned with. We don't know how or if that issue will be held true. And so I think that's the intent of this. And so I'll just leave it at that broad level, just to put enough information out there. We have had information coming from the PD. We actually had information coming from the downtown businesses on some potential operations that may be in conflict with what trafficking is. And so we're trying to address those concerns.
And this could be the same for any business. I remember a restaurant business that they used the restaurant business as a front.
Correct.
I don't know how many of you remember that, but that's what it tells me here.
I think the concern is that these type of businesses actually make it easier in order to do the odd things. And so by creating a system in place so they can make sure that they are licensed, making sure that they are legitimate businesses is what we're trying to do. And
if they weren't licensed, they wouldn't be in operation right now. Is that not correct?
They not have a business license?
Only some of them, no. When we went and looked, not all of them have business licenses, no.
So what do we do?
Yeah, what are we doing about that?
Code enforcement action.
Oh, yeah, but my point is why are we introducing more law when we can actually work with what we have? That's kind of what I don't understand. It's just more law that we're not going to act upon.
So when they don't have a business license, what is our punitive action against them?
Well, code enforcement can go in there and cite them with a citation, and they can be hailed into municipal court.
That's it?
That's what, yeah. And I
I think what we really need to be thinking about is putting some teeth in that.
What about a prostitution
So that
ordinance or sex trafficking
so that we,
ordinance or something like that?
That will be subject to all businesses, not just targeting a business.
So I guess what I would suggest is that's not on the agenda right now. So let's, the whole concept here is not to say this is what we're doing. It's to bring a proposal and then work it through here. Maybe that's not the direction that anybody wants to go. Right.
Councilman Press, I will be full. And I don't know whether you were aware of this, whether Councilor Perry shared this with you or not, but two of us from this committee were invited to a meeting this morning and had discussion on this. And I think it was because we could not have more than two members from this committee to be there. There's going to be another meeting. I will give up my seat so that you can attend that meeting. so that you're aware of what's being talked about and discussed. Same thing with you, Councilor Corn. If you wish to, I don't know whether Councilor Arnold will give up her seat at that next meeting or not. That's up to her. But I will give up mine.
No, I'm not asking for it. I truly appreciate it, but my answer is no. The thing is that, I mean, I hear it in passing. I have no idea exactly what's behind it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and then I hear that it's one counselor's idea more than anything else. And I really have a big problem when it's just one counselor idea that we're acting on. And so that's the reason that I brought it up.
Okay, I appreciate that. I don't disagree with, we are a collective body and should operate in a collective manner, but that's just me and I'm one of 10, so.
It's, you know, it's a question of, the problem, of course, is the quorum issue. And we're trying to bring a proposal forward and include you, and then we don't want to create a rolling quorum outside of the meeting. We're just trying to proceed carefully with that.
Right. And I don't think we broke that today.
No, I think we're okay.
Okay. Safety. Do we have any more from you, Mr.?
Oh, I don't think we have anybody from safety here tonight.
We don't? Who is responsible for safety, Mr. Deeb?
They're out making sure that we're all safe.
I feel very safe in here right now.
I will help support that, though, is that I believe there's a report in the packet. And so if you'll just review that information as far as, we do track workers' comp, and we also track tort claims and any type of accidents and injuries and everything. So you can kind of see that information off of that graph. You look at the graphs.
Doesn't look like we lose many days of work. Is that correct?
And we actually, with workers' comp, we do try to bring them back as soon as possible. We'll give them light duty. We'll put them into some nature, because it changes the mechanics of how workers' comp operates.
Is there a state for that we operate under?
We are underneath the municipal league state pool for that.
Do we get rated individually? Or
what?
Do we get rated individually? On, do we have
I would say that we do. Yeah, we do have a mod with that as well too. Our mod is actually which is what you like to be at a mod of 1.0, and then if you're less than that, then you get a reduction in your cost. If you're more than that, and we're a little bit over for both of those types of insurance and everything.
Do we have ongoing programs to communicate work safety and all those things?
Yeah, we continue to whip the employees until they come into shape. But it is, I think what we do is we go through, if we find that there is an employee that is struggling with working safely, we will bring them back in. We will work with them and make sure they understand the steps that they have to take.
Sanitation you talk about. About lifting and the proper way, all those kind of things.
So we'll run everybody through those things. And most of them, I believe, most of the injuries that have occurred are one-off kind of situations where it was just an accident that couldn't be, you plan as much as you can.
Sure, I get it.
So when we
have that out there all the time. So.
That's about the best I can do with safety with that report.
Okay. Well, it says chair comments. I got no more comments, but.
Before we adjourn, can I ask that if we can consider for the next meeting, if we can have the rules for
discuss,
have a discussion on rules of order.
Yeah. Would you mind, because you want the old, or are you proposing your?
Did we just like it as a discussion item, or is there action?
Well, actually, he
forwarded it to me.
Email me. I emailed Councilor Hildebrand.
Okay.
A proposed rules of order.
Right.
Okay, sure.
And basically, and I'll tell you what I told you. Basically, my idea was to rescind all the old rules of order and then come up with a new rules of order that has some and some additional information from the old rules of order, which will start us with the ability to be able to discuss it.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll do that. We can share that.
Yeah, if you want me to, I can share it with the committee and then I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that so I can get it into the next agenda.
Okay.
I think it'll be fine.
All right.
We start.
Thank you.
But I don't have anything to compare it with because it's your new rules of order. So.
Well, that's how come I sent you the original back in 16. And then I sent you the amended one in 17.
Yeah.
So I now send the same thing that I sent to you to the rest of the committee.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Very interested looking at that.
Yeah, I think Councilor Press has spent some time looking at that
Well, he's the old guard here, so.
and knows what he's talking about when it comes to.
But since I don't work, I mean, I got all the time in the world.
Public discussion. Anyone care to participate on this Dorhoff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I came Dorhoff, very narrow, unstriped Chicago Cubs mailbox on Mark Road. The reason I say that is because people are no longer calling me on the phone. They are dropping stuff off in my mailbox. But my concern is with the Hispano Chamber, you are not requiring an audit. Receipts, I'm not saying that they will do this, but receipts can be easily manipulated. There could be commingling of funds. How come we are not requiring at least an audit if we are going to up them? My math is not really good, at least 66% of what they're having. Why are we not getting an audit from them? I know two counselors that have just raked the chamber over the coals because of their audit. So why are we not doing it? Why are we giving preferential treatment to them? And I like Marcos. He's doing Cinco de Mayo and I'm doing the car show in the back of the courthouse. But why are we not consistent here? Thank you. Oh, wait, one more thing. Amelia and Mike, thank you so much for trying to help me to get, I still don't have any text messages. So I don't know what is happening on the back end of the system, but something is there and I don't know what. Thank you.
Text messages from where?
Well, they know what I'm talking about. It's for getting notification.
Okay. Thank you.
You have to sign it.
Any other comment from anyone? Meeting adjourned.
When can I come to your facility when children are coming? Arthur, you know me.
Midnight.
Midnight.
6 o'clock in the morning.
I'm up at 3.
I'm up at 3.
So if I come to your facility at that's okay, I'll call you first.
Let me know.
I know your number.
Okay.
I don't think
What makes you there before dawn?
This conference will now be recorded.
Let me call them.
Okay.